Imagine being 65 years old. You have almost no money. Your business has failed. People have rejected your idea hundreds of times, and most people would tell you, it's time to give up. But one man decided that 65 wasn't the end of his story, it was the beginning. His name was Harlan Sanders. And this is the unbelievable story of how a man who faced failure again and again became the face of one of the world's most famous fast food brand. Harlan Sanders wasn't born successful. He grew up in Indiana and had to learn responsibility at a very young age after his father died. Throughout his life, Sanders tried different jobs. He worked on farms, he worked with trains, he sold insurance, he operated a ferry, he even ran a service station. But success never seemed to stay with him. He was fired from jobs, businesses failed, opportunities disappeared, and just when things seemed to be going well, something went wrong. But Sanders had one thing that many people around him didn't. He refused to believe that failure was permanent. Eventually, Sanders began operating a service station in Kentucky, and there he started cooking food for travelers. His fried chicken became incredibly popular. People weren't coming just for gasoline anymore. They were coming for his food. Sanders developed a special recipe and cooking method that made his chicken different. For the first time in his life, it looked like he had finally found something that could become truly successful. But then, another failure hit. A new highway was built. And suddenly, traffic stopped passing by his restaurant. His business collapsed. Sanders was forced to sell. Think about that. After spending years building something, he watched it disappear. Most people would have walked away, but Sanders didn't. At an age when many people are thinking about retirement, Sanders decided to start again. He had his Social Security check and his chicken recipe. That's about it. So he got into his car, and he started visiting restaurants. His plan was simple. He would cook his chicken for restaurant owners. If they liked it, they could use his recipe. In exchange, Sanders would receive a small payment for every chicken sold. But there was one problem. Restaurant after restaurant said no. Then another restaurant said no. Then another. According to the famous story surrounding his early franchising efforts, Sanders faced hundreds of rejections. Imagine hearing no over and over again when you're already in your 60s. But Sanders kept driving, he kept knocking, he kept hearing no, and then someone finally said yes. That first agreement changed everything. More restaurant owners became interested in Sanders' chicken. His recipe began spreading. And the man who had spent most of his life struggling was finally building something bigger than himself. The white suit, the goatee, the friendly face, the name Colonel Sanders. It all became part of a brand that people recognized across America. KFC eventually grew into a massive international business, and Sanders became a symbol of something much bigger than fried chicken. He became a symbol of persistence. But here's the most important part of his story. Sanders didn't become successful because he never failed. He became successful because he kept moving after failure. Think about where Sanders was when his biggest opportunity arrived. He wasn't 20, he wasn't 30, he wasn't even 40, he was already an older man. Most people would have said his best years were behind him, but Sanders proved something powerful. Your age doesn't decide when your story ends, your circumstances don't decide your future, and one failure doesn't define your life. Sometimes, your biggest chapter begins after everyone else thinks your story is over. So if you're watching this video because you failed, because your business didn't work, because you lost a job, because people rejected your idea, remember Colonel Sanders. He didn't have a perfect life. He didn't have an easy path. He simply refused to stop. And maybe that's the lesson. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You just need to believe enough to try one more time. Because the rejection you're facing today might be part of the story you'll be proud to tell tomorrow. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to the channel. Because here we tell the stories of people who failed, fell down, and somehow found a way to rise again. This is your reminder. Failure isn't the end of the story.